Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging with these nerds.
Ted.
Nate the Nerdarch.
And today you can join the cult of Nerdarchy as we discuss cults in your RPG game.
We want to jump down to the description below. You can sign up for Nerdarchy newsletter. It's a great way to get gaming tips delivered to your email, as well as learn how to game with us.
Okay, so I started off, I think I watched the video on this book. It was about cult mindsets. I don't know the name of either right now, so I'll have to go back and get that stuff. But anyway, we can put the links or whatever. So that'll be on me for the links. Anyway, there's like a few things that kind of like set up the mindset for a cult, and I kind of want to bring those into, rather than just saying, oh, you know, they worship demons, it's obviously a cult. Or, you know, they do such and such a thing, well, this is a cult of whatever. Because cult, especially in the way we use cult as a definition of a group, it's usually always negative.
Yeah,
I mean, there's not really any D&D cults come to mind that were actually like really good people.
Well, here's the thing, right? Like, now that we've been talking about and having this discussion, like, cults can be really cool. You know, in Ted's campaign, he's using a lot of cult themes and stuff going on there. But cult hasn't been used well in any of our games, I have to honestly say, after having our discussion, because we focused on the cult when, you know, the cool thing about a cult in a tabletop role-playing game isn't actually the cult. It's the guy that's running the cult. They're always super charismatic, strong personality-driven individuals that get people to join these cults and do things.
And manipulative.
And manipulative. You know, David Koresh, Manson, L. Ron Hubbard, like all of these guys. I mean, that guy started his own religion and it's still going. You know, so, you know, all these things, all these elements could make for a really good D&D session, or a series of sessions, or even a campaign. But, you know, the trick is not to, you know, not to pull the trigger too fast. Like, I started doing it a little bit actually in my Underdark game, where I introduced like a street prophet. And then, you know, and then he's having meetings and he's inducting people into this religion, and you guys kind of like get invited to one of his
events.
One of his events, one of his ceremonies where he's inducting people, and like he's kind of like a normal guy, but he's a little bit crazy and charismatic, and he's getting people to follow him. And one of the players cuts him. You know, he doesn't die, but he like just runs off because he's kind of a normal guy. He's not like a warrior.
Right.
But, you know, I think that was the first time that me personally started using a cult-like figure and, like, you know, building a slow burn. You know, where that could have built up to something had that campaign continued on.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, a lot of times when we do, like, you know, there's a lot of different cults, like the cult of this dragon, or cult of this demon, cult of that devil. If you think about it, it's kind of like the lame and boring way to do it, because it's so amorphous and nebulous. Instead of focus on the person that's in charge of the particular sect of the cult, because that person's going to have to be really interesting and have a great personality and be charismatic to get the people to follow it. I mean,
Yeah, and also have some messed up things about them in some way.
yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, because here's the thing, right? Like, you take the demon cult or the dragon cult. Well, that's well and good, but how do you get people to buy into that? Right, so you need that guy, right, that is messed up because he's bought into it, or or for his own reason, he's got other people buying into it.
He's the salesman, basically,
yes.
for the dragon god.
You know, you have to look at, you know, Nate had talked about previously that there are cult mentalities to some degree in everyone, and you have the ability to want to belong to a group, and
Well, yeah, we're social creatures.
right. And those kind of things can be built off of those people that don't belong. You know, so someone who's homeless, someone who's parentless, someone who's lacking a father figure. There's these people who are clinging to belong to something, and those that are charismatic and have this group, it's very easy to pull those type of people in.
Yeah, they're looking for something. They're missing something in their current life.
When Nate and I were talking off camera, I had brought up you know, the original Ninja Turtles movie, you know, TMNT. They do a really good job about essentially the group, the Foot, which could be in this situation fall into a cult that Shredder is in charge of, and you see the life that Danny goes through and how he doesn't fit in the world that he's living in, but how he can easily fall and fit into.
He finds acceptance. He
Right.
finds the things he's looking for, and then he also finds that figure that is bringing him in and kind of embracing him
Yep.
to that life. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that's missing in a lot of like D&D games when we do this generic cult thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like from now on, when I do any kind of cult dealings, I have to start with the head figure
Mm-hmm.
that even if it's only that part of the sect, and flesh him out to a certain degree. I mean, I don't have to write like a 15-page backstory or anything, but his motivations, like that one NPC should kind of like color how that part of the cult works.
Mm-hmm.
He should have some motivations and some things that he's looking to do, and reasons why people would follow him and do questionable things, because that's kind of what cults are kind of about, right? They bring you in, they indoctrinate you, they brainwash you, and they kind of like shift you further and further to their way of thinking, which depending on how malevolent the cult is, could be really far off the norm for society.
Yeah, there's a systematic breaking down of barriers to some ideas, and also kind of like ramping up other ideas. So basically, you get like this, well, what you did previously was bad and you know it's wrong and feel bad about it, but here, I'm going to comfort you, I'm going to give you love that you might not have had before, I'm going to give you acceptance, I'm going to say that you're a great person. And it's kind of like the honeymoon period when you're the new cultist. Everyone's like nice to you and everything's going along, and then when you're entrenched in it and you have nothing except the cult, that's when you start to get refined. Like you started, hey, boss man's got this weird thing about him. Oh, wait, that's not weird. What's wrong with you if you think that's weird? He does this for a very specific reason, and it's totally a character flaw or some kind of indulgence that this main guy takes on himself.
Well, I mean, like, David
whether it
Koresh,
be like drugs or women or alcohol or really anything.
David Koresh was
Drinking blood.
Would he dub himself the sinful Messiah? There's the cult of Guyana. He convinced those people all to drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
that was pretty obvious. Manson had people killing other people. So and you're absolutely right, and they get indoctrinated to like this is their normal now, and that's why there's also groups out there that are kind of like dedicated to de-brainwashing people.
Yeah,
after these cults get a hold of them,
because it damages you or your way of thinking about things, and kind of like it's almost like you get a type of post-traumatic stress from it. Because you're, the way you think about things, and like, no, this is bad, I'll get punished for it. It's like you're in a terribly abusive relationship for a year, if you're in a cult for a year or 5 years, or however long you're in it. And the problem is, it's not that you just like put up with it, you actually believed you belonged there, even when they were doing bad things to you, because it was correcting a bad thing, a bad behavior. Because otherwise it's like you have the us and them. You're in the us group. You don't want to be in the them group. We've already shown you how bad the them, everybody else except
And
us is.
To some extent, the them category has already treated you poorly before you even got there.
Because that could just be normal society. It doesn't have to be like, oh yeah, we're a cult that doesn't like the neo-Nazis. All right. But when you say, oh yeah, the society as a whole has treated you wrong, and we're here to show you the right way to live.
Yeah, we're the fix, the solution to the problem.
Yeah. Now, a lot of the things in the book I was checking out, a lot of these things are present in just general people. Like, you could have, let's say you have a religious sect in the mountains of one of your worlds, and it's just like the prominent religion, the Church of the Light, which is what Ted has, which is all like goodly religion. So you've got this mountain sect, it's kind of cut off, and a new high priest goes there for probably getting kicked out for some reason and getting stuck in the mountain sect, but whatever. He takes a few people, brings them under their wing, and starts basically turning them into like the first acolytes of his cult, because he's off kind of like disconnected from everybody. So he starts, well, I'm the priest in authority. I'm going to tell you all the different things that you're currently doing wrong and have to change. And here's, kind of like based on when I say jump, you're supposed to jump because that would be being good. that kind of mentality. You're leading them down that kind of mindset to be able to be indoctrinated into some kind of cult-like thing. So that would be taking what they already know that's supposed to be happening and twisting it towards something. And hey, you could make it where it is something more cliche, like a demon cult, or he's possessed by something, or it could just be he was attracted to this. Maybe he found like some kind of ancient necromancer place in the mountains on his walk.
So, kind of building off of that, the R.A. Salvatore Demon Wars trilogy really culminated into that, where the high bishop or archbishop was actually possessed by the demon dactyl.
Yep.
And that's exactly what he did. He expanded upon the actual religious beliefs of the followers and really made it more punitive, made it harsher, but it was still at its core, it was still their values. But he perverted them.
Right.
Yeah.
And he twisted them enough that
it was still recognizable for what it was, but going, oh no, like this has gotten so bad and we need to correct it. So, how do we do that? So like where they're doing like this purge of the church and kind of thing going, these people have to go because they're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Exactly like you said.
And that's kind of the worst outcome, I think, for a cult, is to have to actually kill people off that you could have come in, because they're already in your belief structure. You just got to twist them a little bit. But there is also that kind of, when you're setting up something that's really authoritative and totalitarian, like being a cult leader, where your word is the word
you can't
power.
have people that are resistant against it, because then they can
It'll
start
start
influencing.
Oh,
Yes.
same thing happened in the revolution in Russia and the revolution in China. Just a certain amount of population has to die. Because they're not going to live in what you're setting up.
Guys, you heard it here first. Nate the Nerdarch says part of a certain portion of the population must die.
Hey, Stalin. All right, just look up Joseph Stalin. There, my piece that backs me up completely.
So, if you're going to use cults in your game, I say you need to flesh out the head figure of that cult, and everything else will kind of fall in place from there.
Yeah.
Where you can make far more interesting adventures based around that cult. Things like extracting individuals and trying to de-brainwash them. Basically, being subversive against whatever the cult's trying to do, or the fact that this cult may be taking over like the government and stuff. So you have so much more to work against. So there could be so much more interesting things that you could do than just stopping ritual sacrifices and
They
stuff
stole
like
my
that.
daughter and took her into the woods.
Yeah. So there's definitely some cool ways to use cults in your game. Why don't you let us know in the comments below of how you used them, and while you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
you can check us out over on nerdarchy.com.
You can also patronize us in a good way over at Patreon.
So until next time, stay nerdy.